should start that we are in a strange place, in a strange place, in the corona lockdown, that would be the opening. That would be the opening. Yeah?
Okay. Yeah, sure. President Klaus, thank you very much for taking time talking to us.
Thank you for coming to us.
1st of November 2020. We are in a very special environment. We're here in another lockdown on a global scale, partially. Certain countries still in a lockdown since March. Have you ever thought that this situation they're in could happen like this?
Oh, probably. I'm afraid no one could imagine that something similar could happen. Nevertheless, when it started in March, we already saw that there are very powerful forces who are interested in strengthening the restrictions, in continuing various lockdowns, and in this respect, I think we can imagine what will go on.
So, if somebody would have said 8 months ago that they can lock down the whole economy, you would have laughed.
Probably, but now it's already the history. We already lived for 8 months in a more or less crazy world, and then in this respect, one thing goes after another, rather in a quasi-rational process. So I'm afraid that we are not at the end of the story. You can imagine very easily that the governments all over the world will go on and introduce new measures which will be devastating to the economy and to the atmosphere in societies.
So would you say that the new normal, that's the beginning of the new normal already, or how could you...
I know the term new normal, suggesting that there will never be the old normal. That's probably true. We have shifted the society somehow, and we are at a new level. Okay, to call it new normal is one potential terminology to be used.
So what is it? Does it lead to a full nationalization of the economy at the end of the day? When governments are interfering?
Well, I don't think that nationalization is the story. At least definitely not the nationalization in the old style, on the old form. I don't think that the government will nationalize the economy as it was done 70 years ago in my Czechoslovakia at the time. But it's sufficient to radically increase restrictions, prohibitions, necessary conditions, sub-conditions, standards, and that's the new form of nationalizing the economy.
Yeah, all those measures at the end of the day, when you look at social distancing, self-quarantine, governments decide certain businesses are essential, others are not essential.
Well, you mentioned the term social distancing, which is a really new formula, new formulation. We in the communist era, we understood the logic of the communist system, and the logic was to practically liquidate as much as possible horizontal relations. Horizontal relations in the economy, among firms, among enterprises, and horizontal relations among people. Everything has to be done from one place to the top and back home. So the horizontal, vertical relations were the only sort of allowed, not horizontal relations. And this is the way how we describe communism and the structure of communist society. And now the whole idea of the social distancing is another form of breaking the horizontal relations among people. And this is the way to fragmentation of society, to atomization of society, and I think this is one of the main issues not sufficiently discussed in our societies these days.
Good. Could you explain that a little more about the importance of horizontal relations?
In the communist system really wanted to separate us. It was not called social distancing, but practically it was the same idea and the same logic. Not to let us go together to talk and potentially to prepare a revolution to destroy communism. So the idea was to keep us separate as much as possible, and that's the substance of the system, of the communist system or of any totalitarian system, and we are really dangerously approaching the new totality.
So what do you think? I mean, now the second lockdown has started. We heard, Italy, you already have riots. We see, lockdown in France, lockdown in the UK. How, do you think, are we ever going out of this lockdown again, or is it just going to be enforced?
No, I am absolutely sure that this epidemic, pandemic, is really a temporary issue. This pandemic will be over sooner or later, but those manipulators of our societies learned a lot. Try to try what the society can accept and what not. And so in this respect it's a dangerous precedent.
So you're saying it's much more about fear and control than...
Fear and control, and to distribute fear is also a very successful instrument how to suppress people.
Yeah. And when we look at social distancing, so human interaction becomes a medical problem. It's a medical threat, a health threat. And this is, as you said, it's really destroying society as such.
Social distancing, or to put it in another terminology, to eliminate the interplay of free citizens. That's really the issue of the day. And this is what we feel very strongly about. We could have given me that book of us. We recently published a book about reacting to what has been going on in the United States of America.
Yeah.
And we call the book Self-Destruction of the West. And this is definitely one of the sub-stories of the self-destruction of the West. And I'm afraid that the West still doesn't take it, doesn't seriously works with this topic. So we feel it very strongly because of our oversensitivity, which was the result of the communist experience. Something which the people in Switzerland, in the United States didn't have.
So you're saying it's basically a war against Western civilization. It's a war against the achievements of enlightenment, meaning free speech, capitalism as a market, it's free markets, private property, family, and also the belief system. As in Christianity, self-responsibility, and the man is born free.
Exactly.
Is this
exactly? We can add additional characteristics of that, but more or less this was a good summary.
So, I mean, what do you think now when you look into your home country? How much damage has already been done? Can we escape from this situation, or is it...
Damage is definitely, on the one hand, of some people being ill and some people dying. This is definitely a damage which no one should underestimate. Nevertheless, the damage which has been done is much broader. To stop the economy, to destroy the normally functioning government budget, to start huge deficits which will be left to our not just children, but children's children.
Yeah.
So this is something what I feel as a former Minister of Finance, I feel very strongly about.
So I mean, over the last few years, we have heard a lot of new, old series being promoted, like the modern monetary theory, the universal basic income. Does that fit into that picture?
All those ideas, modern monetary theory and guaranteed incomes and so on, this is something which we more or less experienced in the communist era. So we feel very strongly about it, and we wanted really to reintroduce the connection between human activity, human achievements, and the income.
Yeah.
Something which was interrupted in the communist era, and we see that the same stupid communist idea has been returning to us under a slightly different name, but in a new closing. Tragic. This is something that I would say I 30 years ago, in the moment of our Velvet Revolution, of the fall of communism, this is something I must say I didn't expect.
I think we have all been. I never thought that something like this is possible.
And when you mentioned the lack of the suppression of liberty, this booklet of ours demonstrates that. And we have the globe and the mask on it. So that's the whole idea of what is going on here, not just here in this country, but all over the world. So this was our very early contribution to the debate about that in the Czech Republic.
I mean, I remember that we made an interview together beginning of April, so when everything started, and I remember that you were saying, what can we do to get out of this crisis? And you were saying, people should say no to everything. What is your, few months are down the road?
Well, I think the same recommendation is valid, so the people should say no. But I am afraid that since that time, the people are more frustrated, more afraid. They accepted the widely distributed fear, and so I think that the people are now weaker than they used to be 8 months ago. This is one important conclusion which should be drawn.
I mean, if you think about the sound backbone, I'm Swiss, so the sound backbone, of course, was always small business owners, small mid-sized companies, the restaurant owners, the one who has a bar, the one that employs 2-3 people. And now, of course, with these rules and regulations, it's a direct attack on the smaller guys, which always have been, the ones independent of government, a bit critical when it comes to government interference.
When you say attack, it's much more. Attack is implicitly something which is just now starting.
Yeah.
It has already happened.
Yeah.
So the attack has been already achieved and done, and we are beyond that. Those small businesses were all over Europe more or less killed. That's the real issue of the day, and how to return, how to go back to the old situation. It will take years, decades, not just months or weeks.
I mean, I know you are also knowing about cycles. Everything is operating in cycles. We have long-term debt cycles, 50 years, even mentioned in the Bible. We have the short-term debt cycles, generational cycles, 80 years. I mean, do you find those interesting? Or?
Well, definitely there are cycles in human activities, but but I am a practical man, and I am an economist and politician who really doesn't dream about utopias and about something in the future. So I am interested in something what is visible.
Yeah.
I am not that much interested in how the world would look like in 2120. You know, this is beyond my capacity of thinking, because as an economist, I know what the discount rate means, and I know that the discount rate radically discounts the future, and I'm afraid that we are not able to say anything meaningful about the world 100 years from now.
So I mean,
So what lessons have you learned that you think could help people today?
Learn.
what lessons?
The people should oppose. The people should oppose all kinds of government's restrictions, and this is the only lesson which we have learned from the history, and especially which we have learned from our communist era.
I think that's a very strong ending.
That's very strong ending.
Thank you very much.
Okay.